Good evening, everyone. Today, Abhi Journals brings you a webinar on an extremely crucial and concerning topic, that is fake news, crime, and society. And joining us today is the most sought after legal minds of today, Advocate Jayant Bhatt. Uh, in order in order to use these difficult, trying times constructively, we at Abhi Journals have been trying to bring in some of the best legal professionals from various fields of law to guide our audience. Let me give you a brief introduction about our organization. We are Upbeat Journals. We started officially operating almost an year ago under the able guidance of my seniors, Mr. Mordhat Singh and Mr. Animesh Parekh. The core members of this organization are Ms. Divyanshi Anand, Ms. Jasmine Sharma, and me, Arth Arora. Through this online journal, we provide a nature-friendly platform for publishing articles, research papers, case comments, etc. And this is how this journal acts as a platform for sharing knowledge. It is an absolute honor for us today, sir. And if I could go a step ahead and say, it is an absolute privilege. We are absolutely privileged to have you with us today, sir.
Thank
Uh,
you.
just a brief introduction. Sir is an independent litigator practicing in the Supreme Court of India. He holds dual Masters of Law degree from New York University, USA, and National University, Singapore. Sir is also a member of the International Bar Court Association, besides being a member of the Supreme Court Bar Association and Delhi High Court Bar Association. Sir's chambers look after various complex matters relating to constitutional law, criminal law, arbitration, employment, energy, oil and gas, and caters to varied clients comprising of both governmental and non-governmental bodies. Again, sir, it is an absolute honor to have you with us, and we are really delighted that you have agreed to give us your valuable time on this webinar that is focused on such an important issue that is gripping the society today. That is fake news, crime, and society. So, my first question would be, sir, how are you? How is this Corona pandemic time treating you?
I'm good, and thank you, Abhi Journals, for having me. I think I've had the opportunity to be in one of your seminars before COVID-19 times, if I'm not wrong, Gandhi Memorial Foundation, and it was wonderfully organized. I think I've been trying to stay put, but I'm still at work. My staff is working remotely; they're all working from home. Because we don't want to endanger each other's life. We love each other too much for that. So I think in a way we maintain distance and by showing our love and affection virtually these days. And I think webinars are the new seminars through which we are still connected to each other. And I think it's the way forward. And I think it's not a bad thing because what I've realized in these past almost now 3 months of lockdown or lockdown upliftment, whatever you may call it, that virtual world has a far-reaching effect. We get connected to so many people in so many ways, and I think it's absolutely amazing.
Sir, so my first of all, very basic question, sir. Sir, what is fake news and what are the stages when it becomes a crime towards the society?
Right, right. I think let's understand what first news is before jumping to fake news. So I'll just give an example. When I was a child, and I'm an 80s kid. So in 80s, I think India only had Doordarshan. So and Doordarshan at this specific time when news would come and this whole slow song about news coming and the anchor sitting and my parents would watch it very religiously, the news. So one day I asked my father, I think I was maybe in class first or kindergarten, I don't know. So I asked him, what is this news? And he gave me a good answer. He said it's north, east, west, and south. That's the acronym for NEWS news. And when we say fake news is again a fake news coming from all directions, north, east, west, and south. In today's parlance, if I have to infer what my father told me so many years ago. So when we say fake news is something which is not ascertained. Fake news is something which is affecting all of us through our mobile phones, through 4G telephony, through Wi-Fi, through WhatsApps, through social media, through media, every nook and cranny, because fake news is a news which is not verified, which is perpetuated, to disseminate misinformation and disinformation. And when I use these two words, I strictly use them in terms of perpetrating an agenda by any person or body of persons who may want, who have an ulterior motive to harm the society at large. You can, and especially in country like ours, where people are really sensitive about religion. about caste issue, about class issues. If you have fake news coming and not non-verified, misinformation and disinformation in terms of fake news, then it has a danger of spreading like wildfire. And is it a crime? Yes, it is a crime. It has been defined under a lot of acts. As we proceed in the session, we'll be discussing those issues as well as to what all acts govern these type of crime. But just to give a basic narrative, the Director General of World Health Organization also said that we are not just dealing with pandemic, we are dealing with infodemic. And when we say infodemic, it's a barrage of data, a barrage of information coming our way, and we are not able to sift it effectively as we should. And I think as lawyers, especially as we are the torchbearer of the justice system of society. We must know what is right from wrong. If a message comes to you or me on WhatsApp, I think we must ask the person whether who has sent it to us, where did that person get the information from? Is it reliable? Is it not reliable? If to my mind, I think that it may cause some unrest in society, then it's my bounden duty, not just as a lawyer, but as a person of civil society, to ensure that information is not forwarded further.
Definitely, sir. And sir, what according to you, like if like we are living in a pandemic hit
Right.
world. So, sir, what do you think is the most dangerous today in today's world, pandemic or infodemic? And
There,
how can I, as a layman, or somebody as a layman, curb the infodemic besides not forwarding the message?
right. Look, I think the easiest way is not use a smartphone, because sometimes smartphones really dumps us down. I know it's paradoxical, but it is what it is, right? We think we are very smart by using the smartphones, using all the apps that comes with it, all the bells and whistles. You may be using, let's say, WhatsApp is the most common, or Twitter, even YouTube. I'm not targeting these apps. I'm just saying there are apps which have a lot of data or a lot of information in them. And I, as a common man, if I'm not stepping out of the house, if I'm practically living in a lockdown, what is my source of information? My source of information is either my cable network, which I'm watching, or my smart TV, which may have an inbuilt app in which I may be watching YouTube, or in YouTube I may be watching 24/7 hour live news channels, or I may be going to, let's say, this any news agency or any news body. So how it's not as to how I can disseminate it first. I think the channels which are broadcasting it, they have a bounden duty on them first to sift the information from right and wrong, whether it be a newspaper, whether it be an e-newspaper, whether it be an e-portal for a news agency. I think they have an absolute duty to ensure that no fake news translates, into an actual news into the society, which will cause unrest, which may cause, activity like communal violence happening. So we have to be very careful. To answer your question as a common man, what can you do? I think the thing is we can all delete WhatsApp. We can all delete social media apps with which we think we can't practically live. But I can assure you, in lockdown, till the time we never faced lockdown, we thought life would be unlivable or unthinkable. But we have all lived for these 3 months. We are all by God's grace hale and hearty. We are still talking to one another. We are still communicating. So if you delete apps which are not conducive to your growth, just as a matter of common sense, you can have them deleted, and I can assure you it will give you peace of mind. You will not have these random good morning, good afternoon, good night, messages saying, oh, this person has linked somebody, or this person has abused somebody, or this person is leaking some currency notes. So, if you propagate fear, what is happening through fake news is people are propagating fear like wildfire. So the moment I can capture your senses and your psyche in a way by ensuring a systematic dosage of false information to incite you or to make you fearful, that is wrong.
And sir, holding to that thought, sir, during the Tablighi Jamaat incident in Delhi, lots of fake news was going round and round in the form of videos, in the form of statements, in the social media. So it didn't only create a communal tensions between the two groups, but it also created damage the global image of India in the world. So, what could be the legal solution that could be taken to prevent the mainstream media from spreading this fake news? So, because if you look at today, the social media laws we are still working on them. We're still making
Right,
new laws every day to control social media. But the
right.
mainstream media is also picking up stuff from the social media and flaring up the communal tensions. So,
Hmm.
what could be the legal framework there?
See, there are a lot of things, Arth. We have now a lot of fact-checking agencies, and websites within India such as Boom, Alt News, Factly, Hoaxlayer, etc., etc. I don't know there are too many. Even, the organizations like news agencies also have these, mechanisms to fact-check their own news before they relay it on national television. So they have to be really careful about, what we are doing. So far as the law is concerned, we already have checks and balances in place. We have Section 505 of Indian Penal Code. It can be read with Section 153, 153A, 295 of IPC. And the whole agenda of all these sections to be read together is to ensure that whosoever is making or publishing or circulating any of these false rumors or reports or statements to cause fear or alarm in the public, they will be punished. And I think the general imprisonment ranges anywhere between 3 years, 1 year to 3 years, with hefty fine, or with both also. Even Section 66D of the Information Technology Act talks about personation. Section 54, I think, and Section 60 of the Disaster Management Act also deals in covering, false and fake news and false information. So we have checks and balances in place. As you correctly cited the example of Tablighi Jamaat, I think in this, I think the police went a step forward. I think they lodged the FIR under 304, saying culpable homicide not amounting to murder. Just and You said, what is the solution to this? I read in today's newspaper that Madras High Court has given bail or anticipatory bail, I think, to 35 foreign nationals in Tablighi. That was the news I read. So bail has been granted to them. They can still go for quashing of affair. I'm sure whichever lawyer is representing them or representing different people from the Jamaat would have been advising them for a quashing of affair if a solid case is not made out. We also have to realize that, look, when we speak of coronavirus or a pandemic like this, let's not discriminate people on the basis of agenda, religion, class, or caste. It's a very, very neutral virus. It doesn't discriminate, as we all know, and as common sense dictates. It doesn't discriminate people on the basis of gender, on class, on caste, on religion. It just attacks human beings. We have to understand that. It's a human transmittable disease. It may have come from bats in Wuhan, in China. It may have been a biological warfare. No one knows. We still are looking for answers. We're still looking for vaccination. But to say a particular community knew that they were under this particular phenomenon and they have propagated this is inciting a lot of uh, 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 I would say, in the process of inciting communal hatred, which is wrong. It should not be done. Even the news channels, I think, had a huge holla about it. A lot of news debates happening in this because
True.
they know the pulse of the people. Unfortunately, people want to engage and embroil in all these, things. But the idea is, if the police has filed something like this, do we actually need to sensationalize this? Do we need to sensationalize religions under this theory or under this pandemic? Should there not be some self-control, self-check, and self-balances? I'm not against news, but I'm against incitement, which is unnecessary, which can cause communal violence, which can cause hatred in society, which can cause mistrust among people because of this misinformation and disinformation. And that, I think, is really wrong. And that is where people like you and I and even the audience who are here must take it upon themselves to ensure that these things don't happen.
And so that is exactly what our Prime Minister Modi also tweeted, that this virus doesn't see any religion, any race, any caste. It just spreads. It just like
Right.
human bodies and it spreads. Uh, sir, sir, do you think that the current laws are sufficient enough for combating the fake news? And if we talk about that, so if we go on and pass stricter laws, sir, so does it in any way affect the fundamental rights, Article 19(1)(a), which talks about right to freedom of speech, and Article 19(1)(g), which refers to the right to practice any profession or to carry on any occupation, trade, or business? So,
Yeah.
yeah, will the passing
So
stricter laws lead us to places where we'll have to curb these fundamental rights?
look, fundamental rights time and again have been narrated that they are not absolute. They are subject to certain checks and balances. You just can't, but take fundamental rights absolutely and make a mess out of it. That is not agreeable. Even the courts are very clear on that aspect. The jurisprudence has been laid down over and over again that you can't do something which is to the detriment of the society. You have your freedom to speech, you have your freedom to earn your livelihood, but not at the cost of the detriment to society by and large. We have to be careful when we exercise our fundamental right. When Section 66A of IT Act was abrogated, when it was annulled by the Honorable Supreme Court in Shreya Singhal's case, then I think in one of the webinars the question was asked to me, do you think it has really impacted us? I'm like, look, no. And so far as fundamental right is concerned, you still cannot put obscene messages on people. You still can't surreptitiously record somebody's private parts or their acts in privacy. Those are still checked by and large by Section 66E of the IT Act and Section 67, so on and so forth. There are prescribed punishment under those acts. You have a lot of things under IPC, as I just discussed. The other sections of IPC with you, 153 and 505 and all. They have a prescribed punishment in place. So it's not that people don't know. Look, you know it and I know it, and everybody who is not even an audience to this webinar knows that committing crime is wrong. Committing fake news culminates into a crime. If it's harming somebody or if it has the potential to harm the society by and large, it is crime. It is criminal. And if you know it is criminal and it's going to be to the detriment of the society, rest assured the police will come after you. They will lodge a FIR on you and they will take you in custody. It's as simple as that. So once you are propagating false news, you cannot take the umbrella of fundamental rights under the Constitution saying, look, I had the umbrella protecting me of fundamental rights, but in that umbrella, I have an acid bottle in my hand and I'm throwing it at everybody. That can't happen. I can't give you acid bottle. Fake news is like acid bottle. So we can't do that.
Just like an acid burns and takes the life out of a victim, definitely fake news also like rages up the fire and brings down the society to a position where it's very difficult to move ahead. Sir, during this COVID situation, when the pandemic has started, and since the pandemic has started, the actual number of cases, it is being said that the actual number of cases of the COVID-19 patients and the number of death rates of the COVID-19 patients in hospitals have been misquoted or misinformed by the government officials or by the government. So, sir, the question is, sir, will hiding the data also count as fake news, or will hiding the data also be legally can legally be charged under the fake news sections that we have talked about?
Look, again, these are rumors, these are allegations. I do not know the veracity. I do not have the data, number one. Number two, nobody is above suspicion, neither the government nor a civilian. Everybody is held to their own parameters of accountability. And that is why you see most of the writs or public interest litigations which are filed either against the state government or the central government are filed to know of answers which people want to know, which affect society by and large. So I think if there is a genuine concern that data is either being manipulated or not being put out, people are free to agitate and file a PL in the court of law and get information through the mechanism of judiciary. That is always there, And but if you're spreading fake news, saying, "Look, government is fudging up data. There are not enough hospital beds." We saw a few snippets on Twitter. We saw a few news clippings on different media channels showing story which is otherwise. Then I think the government can also sue you for defamation. File a civil case for injunction against you for spreading these fake news. Likewise, you can take government to court if you think you are in the right and let the court decide. So it's a matter of being like in a boxing ring. One who has the best punch, and the punch by punch I mean the truth. Will eventually win hands down. So you have to be ready with your punches, and by punches I mean you have to have your fact finding in place. You cannot be cooking up facts. I saw this news channel. I would not name them, but I just saw them when they had a divergent views on railways. When they said that the railway minister on Twitter is saying everything is hunky dory, but then their own reporters were in different railway stations across the country, where the railways were not only missing the deadlines of being on time, but they were also missing on tracks. And they had collated their data and then they ran their program. Now, just to say if the news channel had everything in place, then they had nothing to be scared of, because they are, rallying information to the public at large by saying, look, there is something wrong with the way things are being run. Government is government run by people. It's a democracy, and they're answerable to people. So that makes sense. But at the same time, if the government is doing everything in their power, to secure, to safeguard your, my, and everybody's life, and they have had a lockdown for an effect, it's not a lockdown that the government is making a lot of money. The agenda is government is also trying to protect people by and large, and we can't be finding faults with everything that they do. Yes, if it's so perverse, that it affects her conscience, please file a PIL, please file a RTI, and let the country know through the transparent process of judiciary and court hearings that something is amiss. If it's not, then in certain case you would have also observed courts are very quick in dismissing a frivolous PIL and putting exorbitant cost on a petitioner.
Sir, at the end of the day, sir, fake news in a way or in a sense trickles down to very cheap motives of the person who is spreading the fake news.
Right.
So, sir, what is your stance on the current business model of the current gatekeepers who believe in news production and dissemination as a business enterprise, then as providing a public service? And sir, there are a lot of instances when the so-called social media influencers spread a fake news which leads to vulnerable minds because as we see that the social media is filled with youngsters. So how can social media influencers be held responsible for their careless attitudes in handling these social issues?
Look, I said, youth has a very impressionable mind, and they follow a lot of people on social media. And if those people propagate false news, then they should be held accountable. I don't know who these influencers are. There are too many of them now. But again, as I said, you are held to the position that you hold in society, and your accountability vis-a-vis the information that you're relaying to the society becomes, by and large, on a higher pedestal than a normal person. So if a unguided youth or an unmentored youth does this kind of act, people will say, चलो बच्चा कोई बात नहीं, गलती हो गई होगी या इसको नहीं पता होगा, माफ कर देते हैं. But if a person with years of experience behind them, if they relay such misinformation, then they should be held accountable by all means. Number one. Number two, you say, and I would not just say business houses. As I said in my opening remarks, it can be any person with any agenda, with any ulterior motive, either against the against sovereignty of a country, or with any other ulterior motive to cause a rift between different religions or different classes. It may be any motive. Now, if we all know what hawala is and how hawala works, right? So I would say fake news is similar to hawala. We do not know where it's coming from. We know how it's being propagated. It's just one piece of bulk money information. So as to say, money and information, I'm putting them together, being relayed from part one of the world to part two of the world without knowing who is doing it. Because like in Hawala, it's a very, invisible network. You can't see people who are doing it, but money is still exchanging hands. Money is still moving. Similarly, in fake news, we don't know. I don't know who the ISP holder is, or is the ISP bouncing to different locations worldwide where the information is coming from. So it may be one, let's say Ram Prasad person or XYZ person. I don't want to name. हो सकता है वो निकल लिया Ram Prasad. But let's say person XYZ कोई बैठा है किसी कोने में या सेशन में बैठ के अपनी लॉन्ग आइलैंड आइस टी पी रहा है, and he spreads fake news. किसी भी nationality का हो सकता है, and we may think it has come from somewhere in India. So we have to have very robust laws. We have to have robust cyber mechanisms to check in place how we want to stop them and identify and trace the origin where it's coming from. As a civilian, I said I can, or at a personal level, check who has relayed me the information, but I can only do so much. If I am, let's say, that 100% in that line of fake news and it stops at me, the fake news doesn't stop at me because I'm the 100% one chain. There may be 1,000 chains of 100 people where it's going. So we have to trace the source, and we have to ensure how to pin down that source and make them criminally accountable for going against the right of the civil society and for trying to downgrade the image of a country in general.
It's a very well put about comparing fake news in Hawala to. It's a very right conclusion, sir. So recently, Broadcasting Engineering Consultants India Limited (BICL), which is a central public sector enterprise under the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, has floated a tender inviting agencies to provide solution and services related to fact verification and disinformation detection on social media platforms. In its tender, sir, which seeks to empanel agencies to fight fake news and misinformation on social media, EECIL has also mandated that bidding firms must be able to identify key influencers behind this disinformation and their geolocation. So, but however, sir, cyber law and other fake news dispelling experts said that this opens up avenues for illegal surveillance by the government. So, and during this pandemic, also, sir, we have seen that let's not compare India and China, but the Chinese have taken up surveillance methods to identify and verify people out of their homes. And it was said that the Indian government must also proceed towards these. So, how do you think that how good are these methods to reach to a platform where we could actually curb fake news?
Look, Artha, I think there are two, three things, and it requires a larger debate, perhaps a judicial debate also in term of a case. There's already, I think, one case pending on fake news before the Supreme Court regarding the labor migration, with the name of, I think, Alok Srivastava versus Union of India, where the plight of, migrant workers was highlighted. Eventually, it was that, not entertained by the Supreme Court, but subsequently, I think, few senior lawyers signed a petition and asked Supreme Court to look into this matter because what had happened, how the exodus happened. Let's look into this because when the lockdown was announced by the Honorable Prime Minister, and it was said that on 24th of March there will be a nationwide lockdown. A lot of fake news already started going in circulation. And look, unlike people like you and I who are educated, who at least by training of law have a bent of mind to identify right from wrong, a migrant labor or a labor in general, or a person who is not educated, who is not literate, relies his faith on information coming from sources like news channels or WhatsApp. Basic. First, for him, it's the primary source of information. If that source of information tells him or her that, look, this lockdown is going to be indefinite and you are going to die of hunger, then they will panic. And then they panic. That's why the exodus happened. Yes, was there a lapse from the government side? Could it have been handled in a better manner? There are always debates. We can always say yes. Perhaps few checks and balances could have been in place, but that's for another debate. Today we are only on fake news. So when the exodus happened for these migrant laborers, all these people have smartphones. So if information comes in Bhojpuri, if information comes in Punjabi, if information comes in Odia, if information comes in Marathi language to them, saying Prime Minister has announced a indefinite lockdown. If that type of information goes to a person and there will be no jobs available, obviously there will be panic. There was panic. People started, collaborating and getting their family together at different borders, and we all saw that. Was the government to blame for that exodus? Maybe no, but was the fake news to be blamed for it? Absolutely yes. We should give the government some breathing space and chance to to go about these things. Now to answer your questions about the Ministry of IT and Broadcasting and them floating a tender and whether it flouts privacy. Look, sometimes we have to look at what is which will be a lesser evil. If you have to choose between the devil and the deep sea, it's always a very tough decision. I'm not saying become like China. I say that we have to devise our own mechanism. We have to respect the privacy of people, absolutely. But if there is a debate between saving billions of life versus your privacy at the moment, what would you choose? That becomes a question. We are in a pandemic stage. An academic debate, I don't think, is a solution. We have to find a practical solution to problems which are actually facing. People are dying every day. Cases are spiking every day. Is blaming government our only recourse? That is one. As I said, is the government doing all the right things? I don't know. For that, we already have a mechanism of PL and taking them to court. But if the government is transparently floating tenders, is wanting to at least trace whether people are affected by this, if they're trying to find solutions where the fake news can be curbed, by which panic can be reduced, by which falsification of information can be minimized. So I think as citizens of the country, and whichever government it is, central government, state government, United Territory government, doesn't matter. We have to come together in these times of challenges, and we have to see how can we be of service to our nation, how can we be of the greatest assistance to our fellow countrymen, and how can we safeguard each other's mental peace also. Stress is mental peace, it's mental health. If I today tell you, Earth, that look, tomorrow I've spoken to your dean, and there will be no exam, and I have not spoken to her, but me, a person of a credible source, or for me to be an influencer, and you say yes sir, I believe you, and you relay my statement either by taking my name or not taking my name in a WhatsApp broadcast message or in multiple groups that are a part of, imagine the cascading effect that it will have. And that is the same impact fake news has at a much larger level, where not just one person or one influencer is at play, but different people with vested interests are at play. So we have to identify all those sources, and the dynamics of crime over the years hasn't changed. I keep telling people, crime is an offshoot of human psyche. इंसान रहेगा, क्राइम रहेगा, खत्म नहीं हो सकता. उसके सिर्फ मोडस ऑपरेंडी बदलेंगे. अभी एक नेटफ्लिक्स में अगर आपने सीरियल देखा हो, जमताड़ा, एक सीरियल आया था, you know how people used to have this fishing racket, calling people, taking their credit card details, bank details, etc. So a person in village is now empowered thanks to the 4G network and cheap internet and cheap phone connections, that if he has the street smartness of robbing you of your hard-earned money, he can do that or she can do that. That is one. Similarly, for a person who wants to spread fake news, or organizations who want to spread fake news for whatever reason, for whatever purpose, either to the purpose can be political, the purpose can be social, the purpose can be economical, the purpose can be religious, so on and so forth. We have to identify the perpetrators. And if the perpetrator is a perpetrator of crime, that crime has to be tackled by the agencies accordingly.
Truly said, sir, that fake news is a virus of whispers. You can say this. Uh, I would request the technician team that we have a lot of questions coming in. If you could pin a question from the audience. So Ankit Seni asked you a question, sir. Sir, how anyone would know which source of news is rightful and which one is fake, except the authorized sources?
As I said, if you can delete WhatsApp, please delete it, because it's not a news agency, it's an app. As common sense dictates, I don't have to tell you. You are millennials, you know more than I do that apps are not news unless you are downloading a news app. That is number one. If you have been following that news agency or company for 20 years, 30 years, if your family has been following that news agency, make up your mind which news is right, which news is wrong. The only blame I put with news agencies is the crappiest of debate they have on their news channels, where people are shouting at each other. It's inconclusive, it's misguiding, and it's causing a lot of rift. It's not. It may not be fake news, but it's such a fake propaganda to divide the country and not let people speak. And either when they speak out of turn, to mute them. I'll tell you something. I have not been watching news for past 10 years. I only watch them when I'm really bored and need some entertainment, to be very honest, because at some level they're very entertaining. So the simple answer to this question, sir, is please delete WhatsApp, unless and there are so many other messenger services that you can use. If you have a girlfriend, please use Hike or Tinder or Bumble, whatever works for you. But apply yourself, apply your mind. I think that's better.
That's very true, sir. Today you don't have to switch to the Indian serials. The Indian
No,
serial is
no,
already
no.
going on
We,
in the
we, we
news
have a
channel.
lot of entertainment. A lot of entertainment.
Yes, sir. So the next question is by Apurva Bhalla. She asked, "My question is about how do we prosecute against people spreading fake news?"
I just said, madam, I don't know if you're from Delhi or not, but in Delhi, just before the lockdown, I think the state government here gave a one full page advertisement saying that if you know somebody spreading fake news, they will be prosecuted. As I said, Section 505 of IPC, read with Section 153, 153A, Section 66D of Information Technology Act, Section, I think, 54, and Section 60 of Disaster Management Act. Please go through all of them, read them. If you, as a spirited person of this country, feel that there is a need for people to be prosecuted, call police people of a fake news. You can have your locus. You can say you're a public spirited person. A fake news is being spread. You have been in receipt of fake news, and a FIR may be lodged accordingly.
And sir, what would be the first step? If there's a fake news going doing round and round, and I get to know that it is fake news, what should be the first step that I should take? Should I go file an FIR, or should I apply it with should I file an online
As I
complaint?
said,
What should I do?
as an individual, you can only try to find the source of that message. And as I said, if I'm the 100% in the chain, it's very difficult. So either you inform your telecom company, which is giving you the Wi-Fi or the 4G, to say, look, I have received this fake news. Do you have an ombudsman or some person looks into it? I'm not sure if IT companies still have these policies. I'm not sure. But the laws are in place. You can still go and lodge a complaint to the cyber cell, because cyber cells are only made with the mandate to look into these type of matters.
The uh, next question is by Advocate Pranita A. Deshpande. My question is: fake news regarding particular community blame the whole community. What are the legal grounds to prevent the electronic, print, social media by spreading fake news? We have talked about
Madam,
the legal grounds, sir, already.
right, I've already discussed, but in a lighter vein, I would say, maybe we can request Prime Minister Saab or our Law Minister slash IT Minister Shankar Prasad ji to like they have implemented national lockdown. I would say implement a IT lockdown also on all these news channels, and other news channels. I'm not a right wing or a left wing. I'm just saying so much of garbage is being produced on these, channels these days. It's not conducive for youth. It's not conducive for senior citizens. It's too much of, hoo halla, and people are just shouting at each other. There is no civility, as we can see. So whether it be electronic, I think print media is still better, madam. I still read my newspapers every morning because they don't shout back at you. They only give you information. If you don't like information in news, you can still flip the page and go on about with your life. With electronic media, you are the master. If you think you don't have you don't like a particular news channel, you don't like a particular debate, you don't like a particular tweet, you can still close that page, go to a next web browsing. I think we need more awareness drives by the government. We need more governing drives, awareness drives, by academic institutes, by these webinars, whatever, the more done, the less it is, in our country, because we have people from all strata of society. We need to spread the message of love than hatred. We need to spread the message of peace than divisiveness. And I think that is the long and short of it, madam.
Sir, there's a question I want to ask you. Sir, I was listening to this interview by Shekhar Gupta, sir, who is a very senior journalist, and he currently is working with the print. So he talks about how the US news agencies ask the crowd for funding rather than depending on the
Crowdfunding,
big
yeah.
brands. Because the day
Hmm.
you enter with the big brands, you have to basically go with their idea of flow.
Right.
So my question was that do we think that crowdfunding and looking towards addressing people, asking people for money would be a way ahead towards curbing this fake news?
Look, PMs have already asked people for crowdfunding. PM Cares Fund is nothing but crowdfunding. People like you and I and everybody from the country has crowdfunded his fund. It's not subject to CAG. I think there was some issue about that also. So वही मैंने कहा कि PM साहब हैं, IT Minister साहब हैं, Law Minister साहब हैं, appeal to the government. They have a lot of fund today to disseminate funds to different people if the need be. And I think, look, government is all powerful. At the end of the day, they also know right and wrong. We have a lot of experienced politicians who are running the government. It's not that they don't know their business and how to run the country. But they, have to decide how to curb this fake news. As you said, Ministry of IT has already floated a tender. So look, there is a step in the right direction. It would not make sense for me to browbeat, the agencies or the government right now. But that's that, I mean, government is doing. You just said that there's a tender which has been floated. As I said, PM Care Fund is already there. I'm sure they are doing something useful with it. So let's wait and watch and let's see, where it's going.
Uh, Next question, sir, is by Vanshika Gupta. She asked, nowadays there are credibility issues even with the news channels.
Yes.
So what are your views on it?
As I said, madam, I stopped watching news 10 years ago because I don't think they were even credible then. Some news is credible. For example, unfortunately, our soldiers were martyred yesterday. That's a credible news. I can trust that news to be true because tensions have been developing on the border. News like weather report can be credible, cannot be credible because our Met department has never been very accurate throughout my life journey so far. कहते हैं गर्मी पड़ेगी सर्दी हो जाती है कुछ और हो जाता है. So but that's their job. They are still trying to do whatever they can. And then other credibilities, I think credibility on the anchors who are giving the news. Are they giving the news just by being a mouthpiece of the news agency or or a conglomerate or a corporate giant? Or do they have any sensibilities of their own to relay the right information to people? Unfortunately, Earth, as you rightly said, not just in US, even in India, most of the business houses are funding news channels and news agencies. I'm not against commerce. I'm not against business. Please do it, but do it rightly. Do it by the right means. It should not hurt, the sentiments of the country. It should not hamper the growth of the country. It should not impediment the thinking capacity of the youth because they follow a lot of people. They follow a lot of news online, and the overdose of information, this infodemic that we are suffering with, can only be utilized and sorry, can only be be tackled by us in the like manner. We have to realize what is right from wrong. All of us are on 4G. I don't think I'm any more smarter than you are. I think you are, perhaps your generation is more smarter than I am. So you know what to do, and when you know what is right, what is wrong. I'm not saying people have read all the laws, but people intrinsically know right from wrong. And it's a matter of sixth sense, it's a matter of hunch, it's a matter of our upbringing, which you already know.
Sir, I've also been listening to this podcast by there was this podcast in which Ashok Kanta, who is the former ambassador to China, was involved, and he was saying that I see today the news media channels and I mock them because most of the information that we are getting from the standoff in China, in Tibet, uh, it's just too much. Like they are claiming everything that is not happening. So that exactly what Ashok Kanta also said. So it's important that we stop quoting the unverified sources and look towards picking out the verified sources for spreading the news.
I think verification
So
is one bit. The second bit is, are the news agencies harming the internal security or the external security of the country? I'll give you a very basic example. During these corona times, when I opened these newspaper and I read at least four of them on a daily basis, I keep going through all of them because every newspaper has a different content. And some news channels, channels also in these print publications also said that so and so many police people have been affected. Some of them have died, and now some army people have also been affected. Some navy people have also been affected, so on and so forth. Whatever the news was there. My problem is only this: give the data and give the correct data of how many people are affected, and that's right. There's no problem. But the moment you start saying that your forces are getting affected because of corona, and I'm not saying they're not getting affected, even if they're getting affected, is this a news to relate to the outer world? What sort of impression are we giving to the outer world that our armies, our navies, our paramilitaries, our forces, our police people who are doing diligently doing their duty to safeguard people like you and I, civilians, that they are suffering from corona and now 100 people are affected in one camp or 200. These are sensitive data. They are, I'm not saying classified, but it's a semblance of common sense. You can't, start broadcasting your weaknesses of your own security at a national channel or at an international channel and relate to a worldwide just to make, get some TRPs or get some commercial interest out of it. I think that's highly condemnable and it should not be done.
next we have a question by Rajiva Tripathi. She asks, "Is prediction?" And sir, I must add that these conspiracy theories that float everywhere are these also a part of the fake news?
Madam, I think conspiracy theories are as old as human civilization. It's like he said, she said. You have a version, I have a version. Let's say that you come tomorrow saying, a boy whistled at me. The boy may come saying, she slapped me. There's a conspiracy of defaming me. There is no end to it. Conspiracy is different from fake news. Can fake news be can fake news be an offshoot of conspiracy? Perhaps, as I said, there may be organizations, there may be institutes, there may be bodies which may want to conspire against a nation, conspire against a community. Absolutely. I mean, I don't deny that for a moment.
The next question is by Advocate Pranita. Sir, global image of our India is defamed by the fake news. As as India as a India diaspora in the Netherlands, any legal suggestions for us to tackle with this issue here? So,
But the legal
ma'am is
solution
watching us
is,
from Netherlands. Yeah.
no, that's fine. If you think there is a fake news, I think as a responsible Indian citizen, if you think a fake news is being disseminated, if you are in Netherlands, then I'm sure Netherlands would also have the whole concept of defamation or injunction, like we have in India. In India, if you think a news channel should be stopped from transmitting a particular broadcast, we can go to a court in a civil claim and say, either under the defamation or a civil generally seeking injunction, saying, look, please injunct this media news channel or these internet providers from disseminating these broadcasts or the news which may be happening or may be about to happen. Similarly, if you're in Netherlands or in any part of the world where you think the image of India may be getting tarnished, and if it's a fake news, please verify your sources. You just can't go to the court thinking that your sensibilities are right. Please verify the source. please ensure that the news is actually fake news. There is no veracity to it. Have a correspondence, have the email done through the relevant government ministries. Here, people are on email these days, ministries, bureaucrats, other officers. You can email them and you can check the veracity. And if after your fact finding you think a court case should be done, by all means, file a defamation, file an injunction claim, file a criminal defamation, and make sure that people who are doing this should be brought to task judicially.
Uh, the next we have a question from Rajneesh Ehlawat. Really sorry. What are your views on political parties spreading fake news for their benefit, which ultimately leads to heinous crimes like mob lynching?
Sir, my views are simple. I'm not with any political party, news channel, anything, but as a citizen of this country, if you think something wrong is being done, please report to the police. As simple as that. We cannot have our own citizen lynch our own citizen. Let be very clear. Lynching is happening between who and who. One citizen of this country is lynching another citizen of this country. Rightly, wrongly, it's a criminal act. End of story. If you think a crime is about to happen, a crime is happening. If you are there, please try to avoid that crime. If you can't avoid that crime, call 100 number. Let the police handle it.
Uh, Sir, this is again a question by Purabhala. She asked, Sir, what about defamation due to fake news? Will person spreading the fake news be culpable for defamation?
So defamation again, look, is of two types: criminal and civil. In civil, you are only asking for injunction and monetary relief. In criminal defamation, you are looking at jail time, I think up to 2 years. So nobody wants to go to jail. It's still a softer offense. It's bailable in nature, and that's why you see so many defamation cases across the country. They do eventually, fizzle out when a party apologizes. But besides defamation, I told you other sections of IPC and IT Act which can be utilized, which are non-bailable, which have a harsher mechanism of punishment, which can ensure that if somebody is brought to task properly under a harsher section of the penal provisions, then they will not be a repeat offender. Chances are they will not be repeating what they're doing right now.
Uh, Sir, Nipun Manocha asks, Sir, has our media, the mainstream media, have become so weak that in today's world, teenagers prefer social media to get or to authenticate the news?
No, I think it's not about weak or strong. I think today we have two parallel medias. One is a regular media, which we all used to watch on cable network, and the other is social media. What is the difference? Difference is when you talk of media houses, they are governed by businesses or by vested political interest or by whatever interest they are being driven by. When you talk of social media, it's more like on meritocracy. Every influencer that you see, by and large, if they are not already established film stars or politicians or other sort of people or with a social image, by and large, I think social media is based on meritocracy. If you have merit, people will follow you. If you have something fruitful and positive or conducive to offer to people, whether it be Instagram, Twitter, or LinkedIn, people will follow you. So I think social media has people become more aware. People are following other people not just because of a herd mentality, but because they see some value, they see some worth in following a particular person, and that's why I think news channels are being followed less and less every passing day, because people know, look, I if I can follow somebody sensible, who is talking sense, who is giving me the right information, why would I switch on a news channel where 10 people are on a debate and are shouting at each other? It doesn't make sense to me.
Give you a headache on the other side.
That too, yes,
Uh,
that's a complimentary package which comes with it.
that is Sir, according to a recent report by Reporters Without Borders, India ranks at 142 among 180 countries in World Press Freedom Index 2020. And the major reason that they gave for India being ranked at such a lower rank was that the entire past year, due to removal of Article 370, the government has shut down and a fixed line and mobile internet connections for several months. So, how do you see that shutting the services in Kashmir led to fake news? As there were a lot of whispers, because then there's this thing that with uh, uncertainty comes gives birth to fake news. So, how do you see that shutting the services in Kashmir led to increase of fake news? But the commercial national news channels and remaining part of nation is still we are still unfamiliar with the actual situation of Kashmir.
Right.
So
Let me
how
let
do
me
you?
dissect it for
Uh,
you. I have not been to Kashmir of late. I have been to Srinagar when I was in law school, but I have not been to Kashmir after the 370 has been implemented. So the idea is internet services were suspended. Let's look at the picture in a two-way format. If internet services and the history that we share with Pakistan, our immediate lovely neighbor, the history we share with them is a very painful history. And in light of that, we do know that terrorism exists. There have been cross-border firing. There have been cases of terrorism throughout so many years, where a beautiful valley like Kashmir has, left wanting for more. And if you imagine this, if you were to have a Wi-Fi or on a 4G network just after when it was made into when it was made up formally made a part of India, then people within who can perpetrate fake news like a wildfire would instigate people to go against the nation. That is one something we need to think about. Now that is one part of J&K, where services were discontinued for some time. The other part of the country, of other Indians who are residing abroad, uh, fake news like images from Iraqi and Syrian civil war were circulated, saying that it is Kashmir when it was not Kashmir, because the moment you open WhatsApp, you only see either a small video of a minute or two or 30 seconds, or you see a image with either a Hindi or a Urdu or a English subtitle in it. Please don't make up your mind on that. Now, as I said, there are two facets to it. One, if the government were to give a free hand to everybody, fake news would have spread. So government, I think what they thought right, try to protect at least that part of widespread misinformation that they ought to have done. That is one. Second, the rest part of the country, but people may have agitated, people may not have agitated. But the question is, were people okay with the fact that it was eventually being made a part of the country? That there were changes taking place. And if there are fake news happening to that aspect, you can always report to cyber cell. You can speak to the Ministry of IT and you can say, look, these news are coming. Is it true? You have to verify this information. If our own people in Kashmir are getting killed, are getting sabotaged, are dying of hunger, if there is an iota of truth, do it. And I'm not saying, and this is about 4G and internet only. So far as journalism is concerned and credible journalism is concerned, I think some media persons were allowed to go and take some news report. So far as journalism is concerned, so far as news reporting is concerned, as I said, it has to be cogent, it has to be honest, it has to be to the point. So if a journalist or if a media channel, they go there and they run their own agendas, then I think it's wrong. That should not happen. Media has a bounden duty to give a neutral news to people. Let people decide what is right or wrong.
And sir, how since we're moving towards a very faster age where things are very difficult to control. So, how can a society or a group prevent from doing any crime that is related to the fake news per se? And do you think that we need more we need to talk more to the younger generation about this? And should the schools be allowed to talk about this on a regular basis so that the children get to know about fake news from a very young age?
Absolutely. Look, education leads to empowerment, simple as that. If we don't empower our own, then who will empower them? I think these should be made a part of extra curriculum or even a regular curriculum in schools and even colleges, things which are relevant. These things are relevant to the youngster, to the kids, to the youth, to citizens in general, whether in Delhi or in any school in any part of the country. We have to make the youth aware of what is right and what is wrong. And as they say, the first school is home. So it's not just a duty of parents to teach their children. It's also a duty of principals and teachers and faculty members across the board, across the academia, to ensure that these things are taught and ingrained from a very early stage, because change is the only constant. As I said, crime will always remain a part of society because it's an origin of the human psyche, and that's not going to change. Only the modus operandi is going to change. So whenever the modus operandi is changing, you have to be ahead of the curve, and you have to come up with a curriculum which can address these issues by at least trying to minimize the damage. If we don't educate the youth today, then they will be misguided and they will commit the same crime, either knowingly or unknowingly, and that will be a problem.
Sir, since we've also talked about defamation and we have looked at how small the punishment for that is.
Right.
So there are a lot of cases. There are hundreds and thousands of cases going on currently for defamation in
Mhm.
Indian courts. Sir, do you think that the Indian criminal system today is efficient to handle the issue of fake news? Because there are times when, for example, when we as citizens approach the police for very heinous offenses, the people are just turned away. So, reaching out to the police about fake news. Do you think that the Indian criminal system has developed so much that we could approach the police about and talk
Look,
about fake news?
the system is in place. It has its checks and balances in place. What is not in place is the strength of people to execute the task. If you see the ratio of police per citizen, it's really disconcerting. If you see the ratio of judges to litigants, again, it's very discouraging. What we need, it's not that we don't have educated people in the country. We have to have infrastructure in place. Jurisprudence is there, case laws are there, good lawyers and good judges are there, and good prosecutors are there. That's not a problem. And we have laws, as I just discussed. We also have laws. We have too many laws in the country. There is no dearth of laws. It's just that we just have too many. On the contrary, so we need more courtrooms. We need more judges. We need a faster and a more effective judiciary, which I think is slowly happening because I would say because of this bane of coronavirus, we the courts have become virtual. I don't know if we'll actually be adopting this in the longer run, but it has with the virtual courtroom, things have become faster, and that is what we need. If fake news spreads faster, the justice system has to be faster than that. And what better way to do that than e-courts and virtual courts? If today I know of some fake news, and if I can pop on to a Skype or a Zoom or whatever online mechanism that there is, and I can lodge my complaint to a online cell. If there is a laptop available at a police station, let's say, I'm just giving an illustration, and the police person is there, and virtually can record my complaint, or I can make a video of my complaint and I can send to a police complaint number. Why can't they act on it? I mean, eventually police has to be on foot, but why do a citizen unnecessarily needs to travel a distance to go to a police station? Think about it. Why can't I virtually record my problem, or why can't they have a portal online where I can speak virtually to a concerned police a person and say, I have a complaint about a fake news, I have a complaint about a crime, please look into this. You may not lodge a FIR. FIR is a secondary issue, but at least look into my complaint. Give me a diary number. See how it's going on. Things and move. Look, at the end of the day, I think it's a problem of the will of the people. If people want to get it done, it will get it done. Yes, it's a prerogative of parliament, and judiciary sometimes have to push some agendas when parliament is not functioning properly. But people who have been elected by the democracy have a bounden duty to ensure that things move in a very very fast manner. And I think that is something we need to focus on.
Uh, Sir, we're moving to the end of the session. So, there's this question. Do you see that media now is also influencing the minds of the judges? As before a judgment comes, as before the case enters the court, there are simultaneous media trials going on in the media houses, in the courtrooms. So, for example, during the entire Nirbhaya uh, incident and the convicts reaching to the final destination of them being hanged, their advocate AP Singh, it was clearly talked about in the media channels on the mainstream media on live television that the advocate should also be hanged to death because he has offended the feelings of the society. So these simultaneous media trials, do they genuinely interfere with the law and justice in our country?
No,
What are your views on it?
I am with you on that. I think media trial is a great deterrent to our justice system. I think media trial and court needs to take some action on this. Should be stopped. So far as you told me the name of the lawyer, I also saw one of his video where there were a lot of ill comments against him. So much so that people were abusing him through commenting. Uh, that's wrong. Look, it's very easy that people are overly sensitive or over emotional in this country or world over. As a lawyer, I frankly don't care. One, because my duty is to protect my client, and that's the duty of every lawyer. The duty of a judge is to do justice, and they are doing a great job at it. I have no doubt about my judiciary. I have absolute faith in them. And I think what we need to do as a society in general, and as as a judiciary, I think we have to have an embargo on media that they can't have a free run on by trampling the right of every person that they think is in the wrong. Let the court decide it. If the media had a legal training, if they had a LLB degree, if they were so wise, then they would not be in trouble themselves because people sue them for defamation also, and then they come to a lawyer for help. Then that's the problem. Then what's the thing? Oh, now we need to contact a lawyer. Now we need to send a legal notice. But when you're targeting a lawyer, when you're targeting a judge, when you're targeting the court, that time you don't realize what you're doing. So I think media really needs to get its whole business in order. You can't run amok, and people also have to be, again, as I said, through the medium of academy and education, have to be sensitized, have to be educated as to what is right and wrong. Just because I'm a criminal lawyer, I'm not a criminal. I'm a criminal lawyer defending people who may be rightly or wrongly accused of a crime. You know, and you can't hold it against me, or you can't hold it against any attorney or any lawyer who is practicing in the country.
So since we are coming to the end of the session, there have been multiple requests that we switch to Hindi. So,
Switch to
sir,
Hindi, right? Sure.
आपसे बात करते हुए सर पता ही नहीं चलता, समय का बीत जाता है. तो इस सेशन को आपके किसी मैसेज के बिना हम लोग एंड नहीं कर सकते. तो आपकी कोई कहानी, आपको कोई किस्सा सर, क्योंकि आपके किस्से हमें बहुत बहुत पसंद आते हैं. तो अगर आपका कोई किस्सा आप हमारे से शेयर करना चाहे, आपकी जर्नी का, या फिर अभी का रिसेंटली कोई आप किस्सा.
देखिए, किस्से कहानियां तो बहुत हैं, और फेक न्यूज पे जो हमने इतनी सारी अभी बातें की, इस पे इतना विचार विमर्श किया, मैं समझता हूँ कि आप सबकी सोच को मैंने चोट देने की जो कोशिश की है, जो प्रहार किया उस पर, वो कुछ हद तक कामयाब रहा हो. क्योंकि जब तक मैं आपकी सोच तक नहीं पहुंचूंगा, तब तक वो सोच बदल नहीं सकती. क्योंकि हर इंसान की अपनी एक सोच होती है, अपनी एक समझ होती है, अपना एक इंटेलिजेंशिया होता है. तो उसको मैं इंसल्ट नहीं कर सकता. उसको मैं सिर्फ चैलेंज कर सकता हूँ अपनी सोच से, कि देखिए, मैं ऐसा सोचता हूँ, हो सकता है उसमें आप सहमति दें, हो सकता है उसमें आप असहमत हो, वो अलग बात है. जहां तक फेक न्यूज की बात है यार, एक छोटा सा शेयर कहता हूँ, नॉट डायरेक्टली ऑन फेक न्यूज, बट समथिंग रिलेटेड टू इट, जो ये बात कहता है कि जो दिखता है उसको बुरा कहते हैं, जो दिखता है उसको बुरा कहते हैं, और जो नहीं दिखता उसको खुदा कहते हैं. तो हम लोग की ये मेंटालिटी हो गई है कि जो हमें सामने चीज दिखती है हम उसको बुरा भला कहने देते हैं, वो चाहे ईश्वर हो, चाहे जीसस क्राइस्ट हो, चाहे अल्लाह हो, चाहे खुदा हो, जो भी हो, क्योंकि वो इनविजिबल है हम सबके लिए, हम उनको पूज्य नहीं मानते हैं. और इसी तरह जब तक चीज हमारे सामने नहीं आती, हमें लगता है नहीं, सब बढ़िया, डिवाइन इंटरवेंशन है, डिवाइन पावर है, तो हम उनको करते हैं. पर जो फेक न्यूज हमारे सामने आती है, तो हम कहते हैं यार ये तो बहुत बुरा है, ये वो है. भाई है बुरा, मुझे भी पता है बुरा है, आपको भी पता है बुरा है. सवाल ये उठता है कि उस बुराई को खत्म करने के लिए हम और आप कर क्या रहे हैं, उसकी हम क्या पहल कर रहे हैं, कुछ कोशिश भी कर रहे हैं कि नहीं कर रहे हैं, या सिर्फ वेबिनार सुन के बंद करके सो जाते हैं. तो ये सोचने की बात है.
और सर, ये बात आपने बिल्कुल सही बोली. इट इज द फियर ऑफ द अननोन जो हम लोग को डराता है. बिल्कुल सही बात है सर. वही अननोन का फियर ही वो फेक न्यूज और जो हम लोग प्रोपेगेट करते हैं. सर, थैंक यू सो मच सर, इस सेशन को सर इतना सक्सेसफुल बनाने के लिए. और सर, हमारी ऑडियंस ने बहुत एंजॉय किया. जस्ट बिफोर वी एंड दिस सेशन, आई वुड रिक्वेस्ट माय ऑडियंस टू प्लीज गो चेक सर फॉर एवरीडे मोटिवेशन ऑन लिंक्डइन. Sir post great messages on LinkedIn that motivates me, that motivates our team, that motivates each and every one of us, and that will motivate you also. So sir, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद sir. It's always great.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद हर्ष जी, और आपकी पूरी टीम को मैं तहे दिल से शुक्रिया करता हूँ, और आपका धन्यवाद कहता हूँ कि आपने मुझे अवसर दिया इस मंच पर आने का और अपनी बात रखने का लोगों तक. क्योंकि जब तक हम सोच नहीं बदलेंगे, तब तक देश नहीं बदलेगा, तब तक तरक्की नहीं होगी. और अगर हमको अपनी आवाज उस कोने तक पहुंचानी है जहां पे हम सबको साथ लेके चल सके, तो जरूरी है कि ऐसे वेबिनार आप करते रहें, कराते रहें, ऐसे मंच पे. और जो आपके भागीदार, जो साथी बने बाद में, जो आपके साथ ऑडियंस आए, जुड़े लोग, मैं चाहता हूं कि वो समाज तक बात पहुंचे, समाज तक अच्छे तरीके से बात पहुंचे, ताकि हम निरंतर रूप से विकसित हों, एक दूसरे का भला कर सके और बुराई की तरफ कम देखें. इस मैसेज के साथ मैं अपनी वाणी को विराम दूंगा.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, एंड थैंक यू टू द ऑडियंस. थैंक यू.